Hello guys, and welcome to another discussion video, and today I'm going to discuss what's next for the Xenoblade Chronicles series, since Xenoblade Chronicles 3 released in July, and so far we know that the game is getting DLC through the expansion pass, and it's going to have a new story expansion and everything, so this will basically cover the rest of this year and next year. I really don't see anything happening next year, anything new, completely new in the series. So I think it's just going to be the DLC for 2022 and 2023. But beyond that, I'm going to discuss what could possibly be next for the series after this, and what could possibly happen, what games could possibly release. So that's what I'm going to discuss today. So basically, I'm gonna split the video up into two parts here. Basically, what will happen next for the next game that will release, and what could happen later on, like in the next 5 years or the next console generation. So, yeah. So, let's go ahead and discuss what could happen next. So, the first thing I think could happen next is a Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. So basically an enhanced port with new content. So with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition, that was overhauled since that was originally a Wii game that was basically a remake running on 2's engine. So that was basically a completely new version of Xenoblade 1. How it would probably work with Xenoblade X is just a port with new content and enhanced visuals and different things like that. Most of the game will stay relatively similar to the base version of it on the Wii U. So I still think it will get like the definitive edition branding and everything, because it still would technically be accurate and everything, and it would be consistent with the others. So I think that's possibly what they're gonna do next. And with the new content, I think they might do something like a new epilogue or a new area, kind of like how they did in one definitive edition with Future Connected. So I think they'll possibly do something like that if they ever decide to port X. I'm not sure if they're just gonna do like a straight port of X. I don't really think that's entirely likely. I think they will make some changes to it, because I feel like the game definitely needs some quality of life updates and different things like that. So it's definitely going to be some kind of enhanced port if they port X over to the Switch. And the next thing I think will possibly happen next is a Warriors game, like Xenoblade Chronicles Warriors, kind of like Hyrule Warriors or Fire Emblem Warriors. So basically, like a Warrior-style game by Koei Tecmo that has elements and references from throughout the series. So I think that's possible that they would do that, because I feel like there's definitely a lot from the source material that they could pull from, and I think it would be a pretty interesting game overall. So I think that's definitely possible. That's definitely one of my most wanted things I want to see. So I think they could also, along with this, or something completely different, I think they could possibly do a separate spin-off, like a completely new spin-off, which is within the same franchise of Xenoblade and everything. So I think that's possible that they could do that. I think one idea that I have is like Nopon Puzzle League or something like that, Mystery Dungeon, something like with a different gameplay style that they could possibly experiment with. Maybe even a fighting game, even though the characters aren't Smash. I think it would be cool if they did like a fighting game with different characters in the series. Like just something that is different from the regular gameplay, or completely different genre from the rest of the series. I think it would be cool to see like a separate spin-off. So yeah, those are kind of my ideas of what could possibly happen in the next 2 to 3 years, like the next game in the franchise that could happen. But next, I'm going to talk about what could happen later on, like in the next 5 years or the next console generation. So later on, and this could definitely be a lot different than what we're expecting. So the first thing I think could possibly happen is Xenoblade Chronicles X2. So in order for this to happen, I do think it would be a little more likely if they did the X Definitive Edition beforehand. So I think it's possible that they could do that since it kind of seemed like they included the core trilogy of Xenoblade games, so I think it would make sense to expand upon what they've built in X and then do X2. I think that's a possibility that they could do that, but I'm not sure. And it would basically have a similar gameplay style, similar world style, so kind of expanding the ideas of the original game. So, and then I think they could also possibly do Xenoblade Chronicles 4 if they don't do X2, and basically this would just expand upon what was already built in 1 through 3, maybe even like expand the world even more to something completely different. So that would basically kind of go along with the other 3 games and everything. I'm not sure if this is entirely likely, because it does seem like they kind of concluded that core trilogy, unless they somehow find a way to expand upon it. It's still possible, but I think it might be slightly less likely looking if they concluded the core trilogy, so I'm not sure if they would do something like this or not. Then the final thing is something completely new. So basically a game that changes the formula like X did, but it still has the core elements in general. So like kind of like a completely new sub-series, I guess, or basically part of the series, kind of like how X did, and does its own thing and kind of spins off into its own kind of series, well, technically it's still a part of the same franchise and everything. I think that's definitely possible. They could do that. I think if they do something like that, they would still keep like the core elements of the franchise and everything. But that's definitely possible too. They could also do something like where they mix the worlds of X in the core trilogy. That's definitely possible. That's definitely another thing they could possibly do. Since those games are vastly different, they could possibly do something like that. So, yeah, I think it's probably one of those 3 options. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. And make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.